Brothers and sisters, Pastor Jeff here. I am in the dungeon called Matt's office, and I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to talk to you about a new ministry coming to our church this fall. You've already probably heard a little bit about it, and you've heard me say on more than one occasion that our goal as a church is to see every disciple discipling and that there would be no undiscipled disciples. We believe that this new ministry strengthens our discipling culture as a church so that we might get closer to that reality. They're called one another groups, or you might even call them OA groups for short. One another groups are exactly that. It's small groups of men, women, or even couples that are aiming to love, encourage, and guard one another with the gospel of Jesus Christ so that we might all grow in the grace and knowledge of Christ and persevere in the Christian life. There are over 60 examples in the New Testament of how we might one another. And that's exactly what we are aiming to do, is putting simple structures in place that would help the members of our church obey God as they help one another follow Jesus. Now, you may say, how is this any different than what we're already doing? And that's a really good question. By God's grace, there has been all kinds of organic discipling ministry happening. Some of you already meet with other members regularly or semi-regularly, try to help one another follow Jesus, and I love that. And that was really effective for the first handful of years in our church and continue to bear fruit today. But as we've grown as a church, it's also become increasingly difficult to fold new members into the discipling life of our church, into existing discipling relationships. As we said, we're not looking to build little bitty conclaves of disciples, but the disciples who make disciples. And so we want to be always folding new disciples into the mix, helping more and more men and women follow Jesus. And we want to be able to do it strategically. And we recognize that not all of you may feel like you're fully equipped or have the tools necessary to think about, well, what do we do when we get together? How often do we get together? What does it look like to really be deliberate and intentional and strategic in our discipleship? That is exactly what we're aiming to do with one another group. So we're not wanting to lose the organic feel. This isn't a structure that's telling every single group, this is exactly what our discipling is going to look like, and this is what you're going to do. But rather, as one another groups of discipling disciples get together in our church, we want to provide resources, encouragement, and equipping to help every group relative to its own expectations and of its own members to fulfill the commands that God has given us to help us to grow and to follow Jesus. So I want to encourage you on September 11th, Saturday morning, we're going to be talking about these at more length. How are one another groups different than small groups? How are they different than maybe just kind of organic discipling groups? One-on-one discipleship or a group of 2 or 3 getting together. How is it different than that? We think that they're a little bit different than both of those extremes, a little bit different than organic discipling, and a little bit different than small groups. In fact, we think for our church in this season, with the seasons of life that so many of our members are in, this will actually help us become more effective at discipling. And so September 11th, Saturday morning, we want all of you to come hear more about these one another groups, about how you might be able to participate in helping others follow Jesus, and how other members might be more active and present in your life doing the same. So September 11th, Saturday morning, we're going to get together. Childcare will be offered, and we want to equip and cast this vision. We want to do some breakout groups that'll help us just practically think a little bit better about some of the challenges and unique opportunities that come with discipling. And we want to help each one of you think better relative to your own seasons of life and your relationships in the church, how you might grow in your effectiveness as a disciple making disciple, such that every disciple would be discipling and that there would be no undiscipled disciples in our church. So join us, September 11th. Also look for another video that's going to be published by Matt. He's going to give you a handful of nuts and bolts that you can begin exploring in advance. You might familiarize yourself with some of those things. It might help you better understand what we're talking about when we come together next month. It might also give rise to questions in your own mind. It might also give you a clear vision for how you might be used by God in the lives of others for the sake of his gospel. Love you guys. Look forward to seeing you next month. Hopefully, all of you. And look forward to growing in the grace and the knowledge of Christ with you.